We ready for president?
Let's listen.
Three
for
for
more
Kamala
moments.
Harris, three for Donald Trump. Following the national trends.
There
For
you
governor, one for Joyce
have it.
Craig
It is
and
now official.
There you
five
have
for
it. It's gonna be
Notch,
reading.
New Hampshire, the first in the nation ballots cast on Election Day. It is now official in Dixville Notch, a tie. 3 votes for former President Donald Trump, 3 votes for Vice President Kamala Harris.
And I know some of you are probably wondering, Rich, why'd you show that? It was a tie. Trump didn't win. Well, let me tell you something. Trump hasn't won that in either 2016 or 2020. Okay? In 2016, he lost, and he also lost in 2020. And in 2020, he lost 5-0. 5-0. So for him to gain 3 and pull away a couple from Democrats and Kamala, I think that says something a little bit, just a little bit. But in this video today, I'm going to share my final thoughts with you guys and how today's election is going to go. But I have some videos that I want to show you before we get into that, just to, give you some kind of reasoning as to why I'm thinking the way that I'm thinking. So you guys can see why, my prediction is what it is. Okay. So I have 3 separate videos I'm going to show you. So this first one is from the president of Atlas Intel. Atlas Intel is or was the most accurate pollster from 2020. They came the closest to predicting how 2020 was going to play out. I mean, down to the decimal percent. All right. So with that being said, let's dive in.
All right. So you pretty much nailed 2020 and you were up against a lot of respectable polling outfits. Right now, you have Trump up 1 in Pennsylvania, but where is he in the rest of the battlegrounds, Andre?
Thank you so much for inviting me on your show, Jesse. Since the beginning of this race, Atlas Intel has shown a structural advantage for Trump. So across the board, in the Rust Belt, in the Sun Belt, he's consistently pulled ahead of Kamala Harris. We're showing him within 2 points of Harris in the state of Minnesota. So that's,
wow. Wait, say that again. You have Trump within 2 in Minnesota?
Yeah. So that really points to a structural advantage, right? I mean, all of these swing states are very competitive. The political machine on both sides is very strong. The amount of money, of resources that's spent on these campaigns is huge, right? So in states where Democrats have traditionally improved, like in North Carolina or in Georgia, structurally they're continuing to improve, but they're sort of battling against large disapproval rates for the current president. And in some of the states where they're leading before, also because of structural changes, like in Nevada, we think that Trump has a good chance of, for example, turning Nevada, and he is pretty close in our numbers in the only poll we released so far in Minnesota.
All right, so you say you're going to give Trump Nevada.
Let's talk about Pennsylvania, okay? This is a state where the early vote matches, as I said, what we've seen other places. Disappointing turnout in Philadelphia. Go ahead and put up the Philadelphia, the Pennsylvania chart, please. Okay. Not enough vote coming from Philadelphia. Lots of votes coming from rural. So this chart looks at 2020, 2022, and 2024 in the early vote, the mail-in vote. And the most important thing I think to look at is where it says GOP returns and Dem returns. So you see in 2020, the GOP returns were 580,000 and the Democratic return ballots were 1.6 million. Okay. Almost over a million vote difference on the early vote. And then go to the first column and you see the Republican returns are slightly higher, almost 600,000. But the Democratic returns are down 600,000 from 2020. Okay. So again, in a world where vast majority of Republicans are going to vote Republican, vast majority of Democrats are going to vote Democrats. Democrats have a big lead. They have a 400,000 vote lead. But we know, just as we knew Democrats would have more votes early than Republicans. We know that Republicans will have more votes on election day than Democrats. So if this is the final lead, and I think we'll get another round here, but we will get another round or maybe two. But this means that Democrats in 2020 went into election day with over 1 million vote lead, and they barely won the state. They won the state by less than 100,000 votes. And this time they go into election day with about a 400,000 vote lead. Okay.
See what I'm getting at? Mm-hmm. It ain't looking good for Democrats right now. You just heard that, where Democrats had a 1.1 million vote lead in the early vote in 2020. Biden won that state by 80,000 votes. 80,000. Democrats this time, instead of having that 1.1 million vote lead, their lead is 400,000. Get out and vote. Stay in line as long as you have to. Okay? Stay in line as long as you have to today to make sure your voice is heard. All right? I'm already hearing stories about long lines in certain places, but stay in line. I also want to play this other clip from Benny and Mark Mitchell.
Because you've been saying it since the summer, that Donald Trump is in a pole position to win the national popular vote.
Yeah, as basically 70% of the polling industry would probably agree with. I think what we got to on a national popular vote basis is that most of these guys got up to about tie, and that's as far as their managing editors would let them publish. I really do think that's what, I mean, we got Fox News, Trump +2, CNBC, Trump +2, Wall Street Journal, a Murdoch outlet, Trump +3. They finally got our Trump +3 on there too. Atlas Intel, Trump +2. But here's all the other ties. Tip, New York Post, NBC News, Emerson, New York Times, Siena, which is 538's #1 pollster. And everybody else, listen, the far left bookend here is Marist at a Harris +4. And ABC News, where did they go? They were at Harris +3, but now, they must have a final call coming. I almost guarantee you they're going to put out a tie. But we'll see. I mean, they just can't bring themselves. And of course, the headlines with the national popular, the Real Clear Politics aggregate is exactly tie right now. Good job, NPR Marist, for pushing it back to a tie. But they're all saying in the headlines, well, that's a razor-thin race. The national popular vote tie is a razor-thin race. I can't believe it.
So Trump wins the national vote. Talk us through the math here. The path to victory becomes a very, very quick very, very quick stride.
Yeah, this looks right like what my numbers show, except I have Wisconsin Trump +3, so I'd flip that one there. That gets him to 297, and I have Michigan a toss-up. It's only at Harris +1. But if you're talking about toss-ups, New Hampshire is a toss-up too, because I also have that at Harris +1. And then Virginia is at Harris +2. So if my state polling is 2 points to left, and we were 6 points to left in 2020, I'll tell you that right now, we're talking about 14-17, 27. It's like 32. Like, it's a lot of votes that could go for Trump. So we're seeing something in the 320s then, right?
So 320 is what is mathematically acceptable.
Yeah, I think the map you're showing here is a reasonable take based on my numbers, but I'd flip Wisconsin, 297. That's my base case based on my polling. I think there's a much better case that Trump outperforms and a near zero case that Harris significantly outperforms the polling. But, things have happened, right?
Yeah. So also, here is Atlas Intel's full chart. You guys can see there on your screen. Atlas Intel, who once again was the most accurate pollster from 2020, has Trump winning everything minus Minnesota, which we all know Minnesota was a fairly long shot, but that's only a +2, so that can be swung. Now, they do have Virginia +5. That's quite interesting because obviously that's higher than what Mark Mitchell of Rasmussen was just talking about there. I personally believe, and I know some people are going to say, well, Rich, you're biased. but this is just me being honest. I personally don't believe that it's a 5-point difference in Virginia. I think that might be a little off there. I think Virginia is a lot closer. I think Virginia is more in line with what Mark was talking about there, with it being like a 2-point race. Because remember, Glenn Youngkin, who was the governor of Virginia, cleared the voting rolls, and Democrats tried to fight him on it. And he took it all the way up to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court obviously ruled in his favor and said, yeah, you can clear your voter rolls. I mean, that is on your, that's part of your laws in your state, that, you can do that. And that's been on the books since a Democrat was running Virginia. So yes, you can do that. And so, I think that one's going to be close. I think that was going to be close. And we have some early numbers from Florida. And I want to show you guys this as well, because this is also interesting. So check this out. So this is the map of Florida from today's vote. This is from today. The early numbers that we have coming in. And I want to direct your attention down here to the very tip of Florida, where you see Miami-Dade. Now, obviously, that is where Miami is. Do you see what I'm seeing? It's not bright blue, deep blue like you have up here. That's not blue. I think that says a lot. I think that says a lot. When you can't turn Miami blue, I think you have some major problems on your hands. Now, that's just my humble opinion. Once again, it's just my personal opinion. So yeah, with that being said, let's hop into, so let me do this really quick, because I want to hop into my prediction, obviously. We got to get into that for this race and where I think it's going to end up. Okay. So here we have it. All right. I think Georgia is safe. North Carolina. North Carolina's always been questionable to me, but I'm gonna stick with my guns and say it's going red. I'm gonna say Nevada. I'm gonna say Pennsylvania. And then from there, see, I've been going back and forth with this for a while now. I think that one's safe. You know what? I'm gonna do this. But then I'm going to throw in a shocker there. That's what I think is going to happen today. That is my prediction. 301 to 237 is where I think this race is going to end up. Me personally. Now, best case scenario, we can talk about that as well. Let's dive into that a little bit, because there is a realistic best case scenario. And I want to put myself on the screen so you guys can actually see me here. There we go. All right. There we go. Let's make this bigger. Okay. So I think best case scenario, obviously, Michigan goes red, Virginia goes red, and we have a surprise with Minnesota. I think that is a realistic map right there. Obviously, I've seen some polls out of New Mexico that say possibly, but I don't think that's realistically going to happen. I mean, worst case scenario, I think we're there. It's very, very faint blue. But best case scenario is this map right here, 339 to 199. But like I said, this is where I think we will end up. I guess these really don't matter too much. We got to turn this back blue. This is where I think we're going to end up. 301 to 237. Now, worst case scenario, obviously, is we have this. Okay. That's worst case scenario. Wait, hold on. There we go. I was like, the numbers aren't adding up. This is worst case scenario right here. Okay. I think Trump's pretty safe down here in the Sun Belt. Okay. I think he's pretty safe down here. But up here, it could get a little shaky. It could get a little shaky. And, I want to dive into that a little bit more, because I came across this clip of Ben Shapiro, if we have a situation where Kamala wins 270 to 268, there's still a shot that Trump will win. And this is why I think that Trump's going to win today. Now, we still got to show up and vote. Stay in line. I'm hearing reports and seeing videos of some crazy, crazy long lines. Stay in line. I'm already seeing reports that some machines have broken down in red counties. We know what's happening here, but we expected this, okay? We knew this was coming. We knew this was going to happen. Yeah, on election day, you figure out the machines are broken. Come on now. And it just so happens to be in a red county. Come on, let's be serious. We knew this was going to happen, though. Don't panic, okay? Do not panic. Relax. Stay in line. Stay in line. I can't repeat that enough. Stay in line. And when you see people at the polls, let them know. Stay in line. Stay in line. Wait. There's also a phone number that you can call to report issues like that as well, which I may pull up at the end of this video. But let's get into what Ben Shapiro had to say.
So here's the worst case scenario. In 2020, there was a census. That census was done wrong. Okay, that census radically overcounted states like New York, Delaware, I believe Michigan, and it radically undercounted states like Florida and Texas. Like, this has been openly acknowledged by the Census
What do you
Bureau.
mean by that?
Whenever they do the census, they can't survey everybody, right? They take a sample.
Okay.
And so, like,
In the
they
actual
try to get
ballot?
everybody, and they get about 67% of people, but the estimate is very often wrong.
Okay.
Okay, so in 2020, they acknowledged, like, afterward, they're widespread, I mean, the government acknowledged that they'd gotten the census wrong. The problem is, how do you apportion congressional seats and electoral votes? You do it based on the census, right? So, theoretically, Florida should have 2 more electoral votes, New York should have 1 fewer, and Delaware should have 1 fewer. So here's your worst case scenario. Your worst case scenario is Donald Trump wins North Carolina, Georgia, Arizona, Nevada. Okay, if he wins those and he loses Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, the final electoral college tally is Kamala Harris 270, Donald Trump 268. Now,
God,
you
yeah.
have the state of Florida say, guys, you f***ed up the census. Okay, the census is that we should have 2 more electoral college votes. And you failed to, and you acknowledge this, you know this. So you need to rejigger. We've now been damaged. We now have standing. This election really should be Donald Trump 270, Kamala Harris 268, based on the population shifts in the country. That goes to the Supreme Court. Now you have a Supreme Court in which 6 of the justices were appointed by Republicans, including 3 by Donald Trump, deciding whether the Electoral College count should be reversed based on the census failure. Okay, you want
that's a possible thing that could happen
for sure. Right now, I mean, by the way, the polling right now shows Trump ahead in North Carolina, Georgia, Arizona, and Nevada.
And those other 3
are like dead even. Yeah. So so not only is that, and because God hates us, I think that's it's not a crazy possibility since we live.
Yeah. So you heard that scenario right there, and that I do find that to be a possibility. You know, there have been a lot of people that have moved from deep blue places like California, New York, to places like Florida and Texas. And I heard in Texas as well, it's the same thing that happened there. They have 1 less electoral college vote. They should be at, what does Texas have currently? 40. So they should be at 41 or 42. And, New York loses 1 and California loses 1. And there was like another weird state like Delaware or something lost 1 as well. That should be with a red state. Now, do I want that to happen? Absolutely not, because I think that would be total chaos. Total and utter chaos would erupt in this country from the left, of course. They would be rioting and looting and doing all types of crazy stuff in this country if that were to happen. I would love for just a clean sweep. All right, let me bring this back. Can we make this a reality? Can we do that? This right here, 316 to 222. Can we do that? I would love to see this as the reality, come tonight or tomorrow morning. When we all wake up. I would love to see this map. Absolutely love it. But that would mean we got to all go out and do our part. We got to stay in line as long as we have to make sure our voices are heard. There's going to be long lines. Machines are going to break, right? Pipes are going to burst, okay? But stay in line as long as it takes. Do not let them win with these cheap tactics. We knew this was going to happen. We knew this, okay? Let's bring it home, though. Let's bring it home. We're right there. Finish strong. Finish strong. Peace and love. I'm out.